Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There's entire volumes of books that have been written about this existential question from both Muslims and people of other faiths. Why do bad things happen to good people, right? And one of the things that we know is that, and this is really, really, really important for us to know this, is that this life was not created to be our paradise. This life was created as a test, literally as a test. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, that to test which of us are best in our responses and in our deeds. And one of the secrets of tribulation is that it's a form of purification as well. Like someone who's going through hardship, their sins are purified. Just because they went through that hardships and they kept their faith in Allah through that hardship, that you don't even get a pinprick except that you lose bad deeds from it, right? So imagine like much more than that purifies us. And then there's elevation, right? So that a person can walk around this earth and they're being tested, and there's in so much tribulation that there's spiritually, even without doing a whole lot of worship, they have a very high rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is one of the secrets, you could say, of tribulation, that for the believer, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that wondrous is the affair of the believer when something difficult happens, when they're tested, they're patient and they're rewarded. And when something good happens to them that they like, when they're given, they're grateful and they're rewarded. So like you have the reward for gratitude and you also have the reward for patience. And this is only, he said, this is only for the believer. When something bad happens, he says, don't say if only, because if is from the shaitan. This idea of if only this could have happened, if only that could have happened, if only this could have gone my way. Iman or faith is to believe that nothing that I could think of going a certain way is better than what God has chosen to occur. Now, does that mean that everything that occurs is something that is pleasing to God in the sense that it's going to be rewarded? No, wars happen, right? Terrible things like the Holocaust happens, entire genocides happen. And these are tribulations in the world, right? They're afflictions. And yet, because this is the beginning of our lives, this is not the end of our lives. You could say this is not even all of our lives are not more than a morning or an afternoon. And all of the life of this world is not more than a morning or afternoon. That's how we will remember it in the next life. It was just like a morning. The whole thing was just like a morning or an afternoon. But there's the life to come, which is the eternal life, which is the true life. And that's what a lot of the affliction that's going to happen in this morning or afternoon, the payout and the reward and the true bliss that is meant for those who have gone through these things and they maintain their faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through their hard times. That's really when they're going to celebrate. And in the next life, for the believers, anyone who maintained their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they died on Iman, then in the next life, it's actually going to be the most difficult, painful, suffering moments of this life that are going to be their favorite, most beloved to them in the next world, because they're going to say, it's that test, it's that tribulation I went through, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through that, He gave me this high station and this high place in paradise. No one in paradise will regret the hard times of this life. They're actually going to say, thank God I went through that, because it was through that I came here. I was able to attain this place that's close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in the highest levels. So tribulation is, some of the scholars, they say tribulation is all good. It's all good. It doesn't feel good, but it's all good. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that for the believer, this life feels like a prison, right? But the next life is not like that at all. And so it's kind of like if someone is reading a book and they only read the first page of the book, they can't make a judgment on the entire book. They haven't even read the rest of the book. And all of this life, you could say, is like the first page of a book, of our own books. And the rest of it is, we will discover, inshallah, after we pass away, with a life that happens in the barzakh, the life of the grave, which is its own life that happens and how we lived in this life and what we went through in this life will affect our condition in the barzakh, and then the afterlife itself. So I would say that tribulation and difficulty people will be held accountable for the wars, right? People are going to be held accountable for the injustices. People will be held accountable in the Supreme Court of Justice that can never occur in this world. Absolute justice is just absolutely impossible in the life of this world. But there is a time and a place where that justice is inescapable. No one would be able to escape it. And so, you could say the records are set straight at that time. And no one gets away with it. Maybe someone, their whole first page of the book, they hurt people, right? All they did was get away with things and hurt people and create war and create destruction on this earth. And the rest of their book is punishment, right? So someone else, the first page of their book is difficulty and tribulation, and the rest of their book is bliss.